Okay, peace, my peaceful people. What's good? It's your brother Mansai. We are going to talk about Herukhuti, the sphere in the relationship, right? Sphere 5, right? Sitting right there towards the middle of the Paut Neteru, right? Herukhuti, right? The Marshall sphere, right? What does the Marshall sphere look like in relationships? Okay, so Herukhuti is the aspect of man that governs the immune system. It's the aspect of man that governs aggression. It governs the ability to fight, the urge and want, and the ability to fight. That's what Herukhuti is inside your being. Okay, it's that part of you that brings the conflict, right? That solves the conflict, right? It's offense, it's defense, right? That's what Herukhuti is, right? Herukhuti is action. It's goal-oriented, right? No, I didn't say, well, it is goal-oriented, but what I said was it's go-oriented, okay? So Herukhuti is the action within, okay? So, what does this mean, and what does this look like in a relationship? Okay, so Herukhuti, right, as we see, Herukhuti is not necessarily one of the spheres that govern relationship. This is like Herukhuti how do we speak about Herukhuti for relationships? Alright, so if relationship is, coming together in harmony, and Herukhuti is clashing in war, alright, well, y'all can pretty much assess what that's going to be looking like. Alright, so you see a Herukhuti in your relationship reading, or for your relationship, then you can expect conflict, right? You can expect fights. You can expect issues, right? Herukhuti is a solo thing, pretty much, right? Herukhuti doesn't really like to roll in crowds. Herukhuti likes to roll alone, right? That's why 5 and 5 is 10, right? Herukhuti say, man, look, bunk y'all, I'm going to the forest. I'm gonna go chop down some wood and burn it. You know what I'm saying? So Herukhuti is about aggression. It's about, defending. It's about bringing the war. So if you see Herukhuti in your relationship reading, then you're going to be someone who likes to bring the war. Or you're going to be dealing with someone, right, who likes to bring the war. Conflicts are going to be on the table, right? And depending on what's following that, right, you can work a Herukhuti reading if you understand that this is on the table, right? It's going to be a challenge, understatement, right? Because y'all going to want to fight, right? Now, if you are you have these strange folks in the world who really, that just, right, gets their thing, right? Gets their goat, right, as they say, right? They love a nice relationship fight, you know what I'm saying? These are strange people, man, to me, you know what I'm saying? Because I can't second that emotion. But, yeah, if you that type, then, you might see a Herukhuti, Heru, and, be like, that's a combination for sex right there, right? So, you might be the type that likes to fight with your mate and then make up with sex, you know what I mean, or something like that, Ultimately, though, Herukhuti, in its focus, in its highest ability, right, is not something you're going to want to turn towards your relationship, right? Because Herukhuti's highest ability is aggression, is fighting, is bringing the, harsh action, it's bringing down the hammer, right? So, this is not going to be a reading that you want to see for your relationship, right? You don't want to do that. It's not that arena, right? You want to see a different thing for this one, right? So, if I saw Herukhuti reading in a relationship, I wouldn't advise it. I would advise against it. I would tell you that there's going to be conflicts. Yeah. Ultimately, though, there are certain situations that we have to have, right? That life throws upon us and says, they deal with this. It's going to be your classroom. So, perhaps you might have to have a situation that is Herukhuti, and relationship, right? Or some aspect of it, right? So what you're going to be looking at that point is you're going to be watching how you bring down the law, right? There's going to be either a need for it, right, to bring down the law on that individual or on yourself, right? Herukhuti's ritual is to be able to confess their wrong, right? This is the soldier's ritual, right? You a soldier if you can confess, right? If you can say, if you can look in that mirror first, right, and take accountability, you can say, yo, I did wrong, right? Right? Herukhuti carries the sword, right? And the true warrior is going to put that sword to his own neck, right? He's not going to hold anybody to something that he's not able to meet himself, right? So you have to, with that Herukhuti, as your focus, you have to be someone who can put the sword to their neck, right? Someone who takes accountability, and you have to seek that in whoever you're dealing with, right? You're going to have to make them take accountability, right? If they can't take accountability, then it's cut. You cut, right? And that's what that's going to be a presaging that reading that Herukhuti is going to be. You're going to cut this, right? You're going to cut from this. You ain't going to be a part of this at some point, because that's what happened. Herukhuti is the bringing down of the thing. We don't consider the thing at Herukhuti. We deal with it, right? We deal with it, and usually we deal with it harshly. It's when the harshness has to come, right? We got other spheres for sweetness. You know what I'm saying? We got other spheres for joy and for harmony. Not at Herukhuti. Here we're going to have a conflict, right? And, that Osir within you is that which can turn on all the deities at will, So you have to be Osir in this life to be able to reach out and turn on the deities within your being. Okay, that's another story. Right, so Herukhuti, in that relationship reading, right, you're going to look towards, you're going to be focused on conflicts. Okay, conflicts are going to be on the case. Okay, and we're not conflict. Well, it's going to be conflict, right? but the other thing is accountability, right? Right. Again, I started to say it. Herukhuti's ritual is to go to, someone, right? Either some, maybe some a spiritual authority, right? Or, at the very least, your best friend, right? Someone who you can confide in, right? Someone who you can confide in and say, yo, I did something that's crazy, yo. I did something. This is what I did, right? That's the ritual at Herukhuti. That's the way you can achieve some of that Herukhuti power, is by putting the sword to your neck, right? It takes courage to be anything at Herukhuti. Right? Herukhuti is courage. So if you have none, don't go towards a Herukhuti reading. Herukhuti people, largely, get away with negativities, with personal conditionings as negativities. Herukhuti people, because that 5 and 5 makes 10. It's hard to bring a Herukhuti individual to justice. They have to bring themselves to justice or let God do it. Because they're just too strong, too aggressive, it's too much going on there. You know what I mean? Lots of times you see Herukhuti for somebody you gotta deal with. You don't want to deal with that person, right? If I'm an employer and I'm doing readings on who I'm going to employ or put in various positions, depending on what the job is, right? You know what I mean? If I'm not, doing something that's aggressive, at work, or something that is that takes high, super duper high intelligence, right? Then I'm going to see that Herukhuti reading as, oh, this is going to be someone who's going to make conflicts. It's going to be someone who's going to, be aggressive, And then I have to assess where I am with that. How do I deal with people who like that? Well, so that's going to be a question about my Herukhuti, right? Faculty. All right, so yeah, so these are things that you're going to look at when you see a Herukhuti reading for relationships, right? Okay, so yeah, pretty much that's it. If you are the type of person who can exist within conflict and not, and not let it degenerate to, violence, which is also a Herukhuti thing, right? We ain't start talking about Herukhuti Tem or to Herukhuti negative, right? Herukhuti negative is the type of individual who could bring murder, right? You are a murderous individual. You a lawless individual. You will, you don't care about no ma'at, right? You don't care about no law, right? You will fracture the laws. You will, you're libertarian. You're going to do whatever you want, period, right? So, that's somebody who's lawless, right? So you got, these are all what you taking into account when you see Herukhuti. Remember, readings can start out 10 and go 2, or start out 2 and go 10, depending on how they are cultivated and nourished, right? So, take all this into account. You and your Herukhuti reading for a relationship. Herukhuti could speak of competition between the mates, depending on, which cards are surrounding it and the whole situation. In, circumstances where you have people of, a level of development that is not, progressive, what I'm saying? Not, infused with any, progressive understanding of, conduct and, what they should be on. You get situations where, the narcissism in an individual takes over. They're insecure about certain things about themselves, and they see this in their mate, and they choose to get jealous over them, rather than, admire that person for it, or even, seek to learn and grow with that person. They approach it in a underhanded way, and they do this thing of secret competition type of thing, where they compete with them. This is a thing. This is a thing. So, various times you're going to find that in Herukhuti individuals. Herukhuti is all about not getting, I should say the immature minded, Herukhuti spirited individual. Many times it's going to, like where that self-worth isn't there, where that, that confidence and self-confidence isn't there. Where there's self-doubt and insecurities, you're going to have circumstances where, the narcissism will show up, and an individual, instead of looking to his friend or brother or, person, co-worker, whatever it may be, whatever the relationship, when this situation takes over, it's that competitive streak that comes out. The one tries to do you up, or, do you over, or do better than you type of thing. And, yeah, so, that's, I'm just speaking on what other aspect you can see this Herukhuti spirit in the relationship. Again, relationships are based on harmony, right? And, so Herukhuti is not the place for a relationship unless it's about protecting that relationship, security for that relationship, security for that man, that woman, that child, that, that family, whatever it may be. That's where you're going to see, the positive use of Herukhuti on protection, concerns regarding protection. Yeah, you know, another thing to look out for would be domestic abuse. You know, Herukhuti is violence, right? So, you know, yeah, this can be a scenario where you have individuals that don't control themselves and degenerate into beating and abusive, physical, you know, mental abuse, emotional abuse, psychic abuse, sexual abuse. You know, these are things that happen. You know, Herukhuti is that fiery thing, you know, can be very possessed of the dominance as well. So, you know, you're going to have to find this in a wayward vibe in Herukhuti. You'll find this level of control seeking. And, yeah, so that's something to look out for there. You know, you could have a circumstance where the Herukhuti in the relationship is geared towards something high, right? You know, it could be a family business, right? You know, that's a dynamic. You know, you have to look at your situation for what it is. But, you know, in the case where, say, there is a business where both partners are involved, Herukhuti could come up. And that could come up as, you know, conflicts once again. But as well, it could come up as, you know, the spirit of, you know, entrepreneurship, you know, depending on how the partners gel with it, depending on what's around those cards, right? What suits, what other Medu are around those cards, right? You know, like, you know, I spoke about Herukhuti Heteru with sex, but Herukhuti Heteru could be business. It could be a creative business endeavor. It could be the energy basis for success in business as it pertains to relationship, right? So, you know, you gotta juggle with it, you know what I mean? But mostly, very much largely, Herukhuti is going to be about aggression, right? Used to defend. So therefore, not so much healthy for relationship, right? Again, you know, look towards Herukhuti to be zest and zeal where necessary. You know, where is that necessary in this relationship? You decide that, then you decide whether or not that Herukhuti will manifest as something good or not. Other than that, you want to look at the Herukhuti as defense, you know, or having conflicts, you know, defensiveness or having conflicts, or, you know, like I said, this thing of the narcissist thing to compete with their mate, that type of thing. Yeah. So yeah, those are things to be mindful of. Check it out.